Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Hogarth's Global Astrology. This is a little video here for the membership. I may share this one actually in public at some point. Let me just give you today's date. Actually, it's 13 minutes past 12 in the morning here in the UK on the 4th of April 2022. And we know that this is actually quite an important date because it is the exact exaltation. Well, Saturn and Mars have come together at 28 degrees of sidereal Capricorn, which is the exact exaltation point of Mars. Anyway, so there's a lot going on in the world, isn't there? And I've got some interesting updates as well. Do you remember I said some things will be brought to an end? You might remember me saying to that, or things coming to a halt. And I found some very interesting stuff. I'll have to talk about in terms of another kind of solo video. But just so you know, this video is going to be about Justin Thomas, by the way, which was requested by my membership. They wanted to, sorry, not Justin Thomas, Clarence Thomas. Heavens, my God, sometimes I get the names wrong, you know. But let me just give you a few little updates in terms of the astrological weather and stuff like that, just for all of you to kind of, you know, have a note of. Now, what we need to remember is that with these conjunctions, it will become exact. So at the moment, I'm looking, Saturn is at 28 degrees and 8 minutes, and Mars is at 27 degrees 23 minutes. So they're going to become exact in the next half day or so. Remember, Mars is going to move quicker than Saturn. So these orbs of influence, you know, they always, things happen around that time. But just to illustrate to you, and you remember I've been saying in videos, I said people are going to try and do the right thing, or something will come to a halt, or you got to remember as well, it's not just the United States, it's the whole world. Some interesting things, news that was reported today, the 3rd, yeah? So a matter of it's now the 4th, but UK time, but when I was getting this news, it was the 3rd. Anyway, so our Home Secretary, a woman called Priti Patel in the UK, so it's just come out that she's received £100,000 donation from an oil company, and she said it did not influence her decision at all when it came to deciding not to impose a windfall tax on the oil and energy companies in order to help people out with their rising energy bills, which I would have said on Saturday, Sadaiga has gone up by 54% overnight from the 1st of April. So I thought that was interesting. I also, on the Hodiga show, so this was on Saturday, so today is technically Monday morning UK time, because I'm doing this at past midnight. But the show was on Saturday, and remember we were, one of the questions was about Afghanistan. And I said, Afghanistan are going to try and do something to kind of improve their prospects, you know, use every tool that they've got in the book. Listen to this. So on the 3rd of April, BBC News reported that the Taliban have just put a ban on opium sales. Now, you know, this is a huge thing for the Taliban and stuff like that. And isn't that interesting? So they're saying they're really trying to take matters into their own hands to kind of basically change their image, because we know that, you know, they're basically terrible. But isn't that interesting that they're, I mean, of course, this is something that they should never have, endorsed in the first place. If you're supposed to be this, you know, very religious and orthodox and all this kind of stuff, you can't be kind of going in with all these sales of opium. But they've just banned the farmers from doing that. So I thought that was interesting. Saturn, rules, regulations, government. Mars is passion and energy, can deal with conflict. Isn't it interesting that the Taliban that overtook, retook Afghanistan is obviously the government, but they're putting a halt to this opium stuff. So I thought that was interesting. What else as well? Imran Khan dissolves parliament for new elections in regard to an opposition vote of no confidence that was designed to oust him. So he's implicated a certain country. If you follow the story, you'll know which one he's implicated in terms of causing that. But essentially, they're having a general election. So look, something was brought to a standstill in regards to government. The government has been dissolved, and now they have to go into a general election. Also, on the same, this has all happened on the same day. On the same day, the Russian parliament has resigned. The Russian parliament has resigned in order for Putin to make constitutional changes. Now, isn't that interesting? Now, if that is is it a resignation in the sense of them deserting him and abandoning him? Probably not quite, because this was announced with the Russian Prime Minister. But nonetheless, that is still also as well something being brought to an end, something stopping and starting. They say the Saturn-Mars combination is like stopping and starting, stopping and starting. Mars is the accelerator, Saturn is the brakes. So it's quite interesting. So this is why it can lead to tumultuous things. We'll see what comes out in the next coming days. So I just thought I'd just put a little bit of that astrological weather in there. So forgive that digression, but I just think people will find that very interesting. So, you know, today in the UK is officially the 4th, but it's still early days yet. Let's see what pans out. But it seems to be panning out as I thought. A lot of people were like, this is going to be apocalyptic. I mean, we'll have to see. But I said, I see more like things being brought to an end in some way. There's going to be a kind of a stop-start, a recalibration, a reassessment of the situation. Remember as well, when Mars is exalted, it's about doing the right thing. Saturn is governments, rules, regulations, restrictions. So doing the right thing in regards to government and rules and regulations, or, you know, trying to improve a situation in some way. So I just thought it's quite interesting that those 4 announcements all came on the same day. So this also means scrutiny as well. Scrutiny about the motivations of government and stuff like that. Anyway, I digress. Back to Clarence Thomas. And I have to find a picture of him. If I do, I'll just drop it in right over here. Now, of course, Clarence Thomas is one of the justices, which is in the USA, which is one of the lifetime appointments, one of the highest honors and whatever that one can have as part of the judiciary in one's life. Yep, so it's a lifetime appointment. And of course, his wife, Ginny Thomas, has been embroiled. I would say embroiled in the scandal. I mean, it is a scandal, but I mean, she's been one of the chief architects of basically January 6th. And for anyone that doesn't know, when it came to voting on impeachments and indictments and stuff like that, Clarence Thomas was the only one that actually voted against. And now they're saying, ooh, conflict of interest, because obviously his wife would be involved. And if this, you know, if this thing continues, this is certainly a massive conflict of interest, because if all of this goes forward and the justices have to kind of decree on some final decision, and your wife is one of the chief ringleaders of the whole conspiracy, then that's a bit of a problem, isn't it? You can't really be on there. So people are saying he should recuse himself. And so what I did was, so my members, thank you members, said, look, please do Clarence Thomas. There were other great suggestions as well, and I'll have to go into those. But, you know, this one got the most likes, and of course it's very pertinent for what's going on now. So, of course, I look up his chart and stuff like that, and then everything leaps out to me immediately of why this man is in the news. Yeah? So let's start with the basics. Now, I checked 3 online websites, and they all basically have the same time for him. So, you know, you just got to go with that. So, Clarence Thomas, Justice, was born on the 23rd of June, 1948, at 9 p.m., apparently, at Pinpoint, Georgia. And there was another one that had a slightly different place, but it doesn't matter. It's still close. It's still close enough, because in terms of longitude and latitude, too long to explain, but you know, it should be fine. So what that does is it means he is a Capricorn ascendant. So if we look here now, I'll do the scan of the chart, and I'll probably just make some notes in it, and then I'll do the scan of the chart afterwards. But here's his chart here. And so here we are. He is a Capricorn ascendant, and we see he's got the moon in the 1st house. Now this is actually really interesting, actually. So what's the 1st house? Let's just remind ourselves. The first house, those are the top of the head, the physical body, the health, the constitution, personality, first impressions, innate inspirations, appearance, character, and birth into this world. And it is a Kendra and a trine, which means it is an angular house, which means they have power, and the trinal houses deal with dharma and luck. So many of you will know, and many of you who have had consultations with me will know as well, any planet or planets in the first house have a huge say over the life, because it's as if they've got their hands on the steering wheel. So this is the one that I use. If you imagine this diagram here is the wheel on a boat. And of course you hold on to these spokes to turn. So first house, fourth house, seventh house, 10th house, all angles, any planets in angles will pick up strength irrespective of the dignity or the sign that they're in. So he's got moon in the first house. So what does that mean? It means that he's very lunar. Yeah. What does the moon do? The moon waxes and it wanes, it changes, it evolves. When you have it in the first house, it literally can give you a rounder body. Not that I want to comment too much about Justice's weight, but you know, there's quite a belly going on there. Let's just, you know, but he's mature. Look, he's 73. You know, it's hard to maintain, you know, a 32-inch waist once one is in that neck of the woods. You know what I mean? And one wouldn't even care by that point anyway. So, you know, he's a mature guy. But when I look at his features, I can see the lunation, the lunar qualities to his features. He's got quite a broad, quite a round face, and quite a round body as well. And that can be one of the more obvious manifestations of that. Moon in the first house, believe it or not, increases sensitivity. And one's perception and being able to kind of read and gauge one's environment and stuff like that. However, the sign is very critical, particularly when it comes to the moon. Remember, the moon is the most sensitive part in the chart. And if we look here, now you would have heard me say this before, but just in case for those who haven't heard it, whenever you see the moon in the signs of Saturn, yeah, which are Capricorn and Aquarius, a little bit of Jaws music starts to play, particularly when it's in Capricorn. Likewise as well, if you see Saturn in the sign of Cancer, that is also tricky as well. Yeah, that's also tricky as well. Why? Because Saturn and Moon are not friends. They're enemies to each other. And I always say, out of the two enemies, that this is probably one of up there with the spitefulness. Yeah. So remember too, the moon represents the mind overall. And if we look here, where's his moon? Drum roll. Oh, I can do some sound effects. Drum roll, drum roll. Let me get a drum roll going. If I can find my little thing. Bloody hell. Where is it? Forgive me, you know, I have to have a little bit of humor there. Look, it's in Capricorn. There it is. It's in Capricorn. Moon in Capricorn. And you will notice there's no planet here and there's no planet here. So this is also a Chemadruma moon as well. And it means isolated. It means isolated moon. There is an aspect from Saturn on the moon. Now, so this is actually very interesting. Because here the moon is in an enemy sign, Capricorn, and the moon also represents the mother. And what I've just seen, just from sheer experience, doing charts and stuff like that, it means his mother. Not that it's relevant for this case though, but it means his mother would have been under some kind of stress, pressure in her life. She probably had a very challenging life, or a lot of responsibilities, or felt that her childhood wasn't as nice as she would have potentially have liked it. There could have been a lot of burdens, a lot of hardships, a lot of hard work. Capricorn is the sign of pressure. So it literally means the mother was pressured in some kind of way. It can even mean as well there maybe something could have happened with the spouse or the partner and she had to take on that leadership role, or maybe she was the eldest child and had to look after everyone. Sometimes as well it can be a case the mother sometimes has a lot of children, so she has to look after a lot of people. But what is Kemadruma moon? Kemadruma moon, this is very important because what it means, what this shows here with Clarence Thomas, and this is consistent for everyone that has this, the severity varies depending on the sign. So here, what this suggests is when he was younger, when Clarence Thomas was younger, he probably felt like the odd one out in his family. This is very often how it expresses. It often expresses feeling like the odd one out. So I didn't go into all the details of this, that, and the other, and because it is late at night, and I just wanted this to be fresh and just to kind of respond. But there would be that feeling. So, I mean, of course, he's in one of the highest courts of the land. I don't know if he's got any brothers or sisters or anything like that, but there is an element there feeling like the odd one out or on one's own in some kind of way, or not feeling fully supported by one's family. Some people with Kemadruma moon, they even speculate or fantasize that they were adopted and that the family that they're with is not their real family, or their mother is not their real mother. That it can literally come out like that. That may not necessarily be the case for Justice Thomas, but what is interesting, but it will have expressed itself in that way. Also as well, when we look here, we see that this moon is opposed by Saturn and Pluto. My goodness. So he's got a Saturn Pluto moon opposition going on in his chart. I mean, that can be a huge pull on the mind. But it also means as well is that his moon and Saturn are in what is called a Parivartana yoga. It means they're exchanging signs. So if we look here, the moon is in the sign of Capricorn, which belongs to Saturn, and Saturn is in the sign of the moon. So what it does alleviate to an extent some of that more negative qualities of the moon being in difficulty in Capricorn. I mean, she adapts wherever she is. What the moon can do is, when it's in Capricorn, it can give one a pragmatic mother, but who's very down to earth. But it can also as well give a pragmatic person, a person that's very serious, looks at the bottom line of things, can be quite dispassionate, but can also be quite cold and detached. But what it also shows is that he will sort of ground his mind in the real politic. Yeah, real politics. Saturn is the planet of experience. He teaches via experience what actually happens in one's life. So there is that element there of this almost a little bit of shadow really as well, because when the moon is aspected by Saturn, it can darken the mood. This is also associated sometimes as well with depression as well, or just darker thoughts, more morose thoughts. But then the advantages of that as well, let's not forget as well, Capricorn is a sign of what? Government, of influence, hierarchy, power. So it also shows that this is a man, Clarence Thomas is also a tremendously ambitious man as well. Capricorn is very much a sign of government, of ambition, reaching those higher levels. It's about top-down structures, and of course he's one of the top justices in America. It doesn't get any higher than that. So there would have been, even though he would have potentially maybe felt like a bit like an outcast when he was a kid or what have you, he probably has got this very steely internal drive to reach the top, which of course he clearly has. And also as well, let's not forget some of the most obvious things as well, is that Saturn is a conservative planet. It's a planet of what? Conservatism. Yeah, restraint, or in that traditional sense. And his moon is here in Capricorn. He's a Republican. Yeah, and he, advocates for all those different things. Even though justices are not supposed to be partisan, I think we all know that this is not true. At least not in recent years anyway, from the display that we've been able to see. So you can see here that how that moon in the first house is actually saying a lot about his character and personality. Now, if we look around here, we go round to the next house, so we just count round 1, 2, 3, 4. He has got Rahu in the 4th house in Aries. And if we look here, here's Rahu in Aries, here's Ketu in Libra. Guess what? That is where the nodes of the moon have just shifted into. So what is happening here is that Clarence Thomas is actually having what is referred to as a nodal return. And this only happens once every 18.5 years or so, yeah, and loose change, depending on how quickly the nodes are moving. But, you know, it's between 18 and 18.5 years. So it's not a common occurrence. You know, it takes a while to come round. And what does that mean? So if we look here, the nodes at the moon currently, now remember the number starts high and it goes lower. The nodes of the moon move backwards in terms of the direction of the planets, where they're going. So as of today, Rahu is at 28 degrees and 45 minutes of sidereal Aries. Clarence Thomas's natal Rahu is at 19 degrees 44 minutes. Yeah, 19 degrees 44 minutes. So what is, here's his natal Rahu here near the sort of middle of the house, because we take a 30-degree portion of sky. So that's that here. And Rahu has entered the house and is kind of slowly ticking. Tick, 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 tick. Now I'm going to check on my software to see when those nodes return to themselves exactly, because this will be something very important. When we have a nodal return, it is a reaffirmation or a reassessment of our whole life's purpose. Yeah, and I'll say that again. When the nodes return, it is a reassessment of our whole life's purpose. What we're doing. This is very often the case where a person may decide to go in a new direction, or they double down and they're like, right, this is, you know, they re-engage with their life purpose or their path, or sometimes they just end something. It can be like, for example, a classic example of this is looking at your work situation, deciding that you don't like it so much anymore, and then you retire. Could be that. Yeah, because you're just like, yeah, I'm not feeling it anymore. Maybe my life purpose is elsewhere. So I find that very, very interesting. Now, let me give you a precise date of when this realignment is going to happen. Now, remember, his natal Rahu is in sidereal Aries, and I've just seen the nakshatra is Bharani, which means labor pains. Yeah, Bharani, the symbol of Bharani is the yoni, the female reproductive system, and it deals with constraint and it deals with judgment. Believe it or not. The deity associated with this nakshatra is Yama, the god of death, who was said to be the first person that died in terms of creating the concept of death in Earth School. So this deals with judgment, and it deals a lot with punishment, and it also deals with self-judgment and self-punishment and karmas and consequences for one's decisions that have been made. How interesting. All right, so let me go into my animated screens. Maybe I should start. I've not got my mouse wired up. Actually, I've got it in the other place here. 1 second. Let me just I'm just swapping the mouse doodah. I don't know what the word is. The thing for the wireless mouse. And there we are. There we are. Now I'm going to go here to my animated transits. Let's do transits, animated transits, so I can give you a precise date of when those nodes are going to come back exactly on Justin Thomas's natal placement. So I'm on the monthly and I'm clicking forward to see where Rahu and Ketu go. Oh, look at that. Now let's see. Here's Rahu is at 1944. I've overshot a little bit. I'm at 1939. Let's take that back by a week. Oh, and then it's gone over again. Let's do daily, and let's see if I can get that exact. Oh, that's close enough. That's close enough. So here we are. Here's a date for you. Put it in the diary. Let's see what happens. Yeah, let's see what the celestial deities deliver. So on the 25th of September 2022 at 23:54 UK time. So, I mean, that's like 6 minutes to midnight. Yeah. So remember, it doesn't always necessarily have to be exact. It can be a week or two either side. But this is when the nodes will come back exactly on this day at that time. So 25th of September 2022, Clarence Thomas will have the nodes of the moon exactly back to where they were 18 and a half years ago, which will completely trigger a reassessment of his life purpose, values, what he wants to do, where he wants to go, what he wants to do with the rest of his life. Is he going to double down and stay as a justice and live out those years? Because remember, of course, it is a lifetime appointment. Or does he decide, you know what? The heat is too much. I'm getting out of here. Now, isn't it interesting that with everything, pardon me, that's going on with his wife, Ginny, that energetic thing should be going on now. And I see this time and time again in people's charts. It is extraordinary how consistent these energies are. So he's really got some massive choices. And in fact, I'll probably pull a few cards for him as well. We'll do a little bit of tarot. So there's that. So I just thought I'd share that, and at least I can give you a specific date there. We'll have to see what happens to see if that actually transpires, but that energy has triggered. It has started. And remember, the nodes of the moon changed. What was it? It was on the 16th, 17th of March. So isn't it interesting that, you know, with the news cycle, with this story becoming more and more present just when the nodes of the moon change and they're about to have that nodal return. For him, it is happening in the fourth house. The fourth house, which deals with the heart chakra, deals with the chest, deals with the heart, deals with the home, deals with the emotions. So my other name for Rahu, I'll call him Gobble Gobble, but my other name for Rahu is Tumble Dryer. Call him Tumble Dryer because whatever house he goes into, he puts that house into a spin. So for him to have this nodal return in the fourth house, this is dealing with his home life, family life, the emotions, his sense of security, stability, comforts. And the fourth house deals with comforts and luxuries and all of these kind of things. So all of this is coming under re-evaluation. Where does he want to get his sense of comfort and stuff like that? But also as well, like I said, it deals with the receptive heart, the chakra, the emotions, deals with mother, real estate, ancestors, history, vehicles, happiness, things that are underground, can deal with things that are hidden. Happiness deals with the emotions, as I said, honesty, even dishonesty as well sometimes, comforts and luxuries, master degrees and doctorates, homelands, and it deals with the stomach and the breast. Now, isn't it interesting? It also deals with the stomach. And I understand that there's been some issues with yourself in regards to the colon and, you know, something like that, which of course will be part of that. And then there's more indication as well in his chart for issues with digestion. So if we look here, if we go around and we go to the 6th house of Justin Thomas's chart, so we count here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Look at this. He has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets in his 6th house. What's the 6th house all about? It deals with what? It deals with health and overcoming obstacles. It deals with pets, divorce. It deals with lawsuits. Yeah, this is where the action of the lawsuits actually happens. So, of course, you would expect a justice, a lawyer to have an active 6th house because they're often dealing with what? Conflicts, resolution, enemies, you know, and going in between. And there's even more indications in his chart of him being a lawyer as well. Anyway, lawsuits, debts, food and diet. As I said, it deals with accidents, thieves, enemies, challenging competition. It deals with police and military, but also the 6th house deals with service, where we give some kind of service to the world. And of course, you know, if you're a justice, you are supposed to be what? Serving the public. But of course, lawyers, mechanics, doctors, etc., you know, it's a service-oriented world. You do things on behalf of one's client, of course. I mean, we're all giving some kind of service or some shape or form. Anyway, it deals with thieves. It can also deal with practical skills, repetitive tasks, challenging competition. It deals with therapies of all kinds, routines of all kinds. This is also where you can have your yoga therapist, your dietitian, exercise, going to the gym. I'm not saying, I'm not going to accuse Justice Thomas of kind of regularly going to the gym, but you know what I mean? There can be, it can also cover that. It can also cover that. It also deals with production lines, hotels, and restaurants. It's also known as the House of Saints and Sinners. It is a Dustana house, which means it's a difficult house, but it improves with time. So, of course, if someone's got 5 planets in that 6th house, you can see how there's going to be lots of things to do with what? Litigation. Litigation makes absolute sense, doesn't it? So if we look here, there we are, we can see those planets there. Now, what do we have there? We have got Uranus, the planet of sudden shocks and surprises, liberation, innovation, but also eccentricity, the unconventional. We've got the sun here, which is the kingdom that we're building this lifetime. Our sense of autonomy, the ability for us to lead, power, etc., stuff like that. Also deals with the father. We have got Ceres here, which is devotion. It's almost like the Demeter, the earth goddess, whose very famous daughter was called Persephone. And what is Ceres shows where we're likely to give our love or devotion to something, but sometimes we may lose that thing that we desire or love, or we lose it and then it comes back, like Persephone. So here, this is a person that is dedicated to what goes on in the 6th house. The sign is Gemini, which is again all about what? Communication, information. It's in the 6th house, which is also the natural house of Virgo, because Virgo is the 6th sign. If we look here, Thomas has got Mercury retrograde with Venus retrograde together in the 6th house. Now, so this is fascinating. So what that means is that gives someone great alacrity and verbal skills, etc., and stuff like that. But retrograde planets almost have a bit more karma on them. It can actually make them more powerful, but more subterranean. It's because in their cycle, they're closer to Earth at the time. So what it does is the consciousness of that planet, you have to kind of dig for it a bit more. And whatever is associated with that planet will also be a bit more subterranean. Now, we know that Mercury is what? The planet of communication, emails, discourse. He has a lot to do with lawyers as well, because it's about the skills, the verbal skills to put forward arguments and propositions, even sophistry as well, which is the ability to argue an opposite argument that you don't even believe in. Can be that as well. Now, the nakshatra that this is all happening in for the Sun, Mercury, and Venus, it's happening in Ardra. Now, Ardra is a very dramatic and bombastic nakshatra. I even think his Ceres as well is in Ardra. Let me just have a little Ramaj here. Oh, no. His Ceres is in Mrigashira, which is the search for beauty, along with let's just see where Uranus is as well. Uranus is in Mrigashira as well. So what we're dealing with, this is an immensely curious person. This is a person who likes to investigate, likes to dig, has worked, honed on their skills of obviously to be a justice. You need to be a good talker. You need to be able to present arguments and stuff like that. But Ardra, funny enough, is a very dramatic nakshatra. It deals a lot to do with the truth. I call this the journalist portion of the zodiac, but it's more like the war correspondent. Ardra, the deity of Ardra, is the god Rudra, which is the god of storms. So it's a very stormy nakshatra. The symbols for Ardra are the teardrop and the gemstone. So Ardra means tears. So here we're seeing that, Justice Thomas has got this very dramatic, tumultuous things going on in his life. Obviously, a lot of this would be expressed in the courtroom, but this could also be happening in his personal life as well. And of course, because this is also a house, the 6th house deals with health and healing and overcoming obstacles, it can sow drama with one's health. But what I find most pertinent is this combination here, which is a common one, between Mercury and Venus. Now, they travel close together because they're very close to the sun. But here, what is interesting is that his, like I said, his Mercury's retrograde, his Jupiter is retrograde, and his Venus is retrograde. Jupiter deals with spirituality, justice, politics, and all that stuff. Mercury is communications, etc., what I've said. But Venus, what is Venus? Venus is relationships. And in a man's chart in particular, Venus represents the wife. Venus is spouses and all kinds of relationships for men and women, but in a man's chart, it's the wife in particular. Now, Venus is here in Ardra, which means what? Tears. And it's retrograde, and it's in the 6th house. Now, Venus does very well in Gemini, but the 6th house carries the energy of Virgo. And Virgo is the sign in which Venus debilitates. So what this is saying here is that there are tears as a result of the wife. Ardra is tears, tumultuous. There's something dramatic about the wife. When we also consider too that we need to remember Uranus is here as well. Yeah, so here's Uranus. So if we take the context of Venus and look at her company, the company that Venus is keeping, so the wife is also what? Articulate, but retrograde in some ways, some subterranean plans. The wife is also very devoted to a cause. Ceres, remember, Ceres is devotion. Yeah, devotion. It's almost like a mother's love for something, but there can be a sinister side of it as well, because Persephone was what? Abducted, taken into the underworld. So Ceres can also show where something is deeper, darker, potentially a bit unsavory. So if we look in this from the context of Venus and the company that she's sharing, it's given an idea of Justin Thomas's wife. Yeah, do you see the logic here? The logic. And for entertainment purposes only, of course, if I should publish this live. Anyway, which I will do at some point, because I think it's quite interesting. So there's that. It's also there with the sun, and it's there with Uranus. Now the sun. Now this is very interesting. The sun and Venus are not friends. And the sun is about nobility and is about sacrifice. Here the sun is actually quite strong because it does very well in the sign of Gemini, but Venus is in the same house. And so these planets are combust. They're essentially combust. Technically here it's not showing combustion, because let's just see here. Oh no, should be showing. For some reason on my software it's not showing the oh, it's because Venus is also retrograde and Mercury is retrograde, and they can't fit in the extra letters, because the sun is at 9 degrees 19 minutes of sidereal Gemini. Oh, Mercury is at 9 degrees 23 minutes. And Venus is at 10 degrees 5 minutes. These are both Cassimi. Just notice that. Cassimi is when a planet is within 1 degree or less, yeah, or a degree and loose change of the sun. So here, so if it's at 19, 10, yeah, both of these planets are Cassimi. Now this is really interesting because it means the sun radiates that energy of those two planets. So you've got two planets in the lap of the sun at the same time. So what it does is it means the whole kingdom is about those mercurial and Venusian things. Venus is the ruler of Libra, and Libra is also the sign of lawyers and litigation. So we can see that here. But it also means that the wife also has connotations with legalities, negotiations of all kinds. There's something she's very, very devoted to and sees. Remember as well, the sun is what? Leadership, leaders, presidents. And from those texts, we know she's very devoted to what? To us, to the, Mr. 45. And also as well, let's not forget that Uranus is also eccentricity. So it suggests that The wife is very, very, because here, Mercury and Venus are in the lap of the sun. And if we're talking about the wife, that means the wife is also imbibed with those qualities as well. And Uranus is there as well. And remember too, Uranus is what? The planet of what? Revolutions and uprisings. When it was discovered around the French Revolution. These are the associations, the connotations of Uranus. Uranus is the rebel of the zodiac. So it means that there's a rebellious streak to the wife. Isn't that interesting? There it all is. Yeah, there's Venus, just to show again. Very close to Mercury. And both are in the lap of the sun, which is leadership, presidents. There's Uranus adding that radical element and that eccentricity. There with Ceres, which is devotion. Both of them are in the nakshatra of Mrigashira, which means the search for beauty. So the wife is in this constant search for the exaltation and beautification of her dedicated leader, who she sees as the sun, the king, searching for all sorts of different ways to exalt and venerate him. Yeah, because Venus and Mercury are both in the lap of the sun, which is leadership. Yeah, leadership. Be very interesting to see, what's going on in her chart. So we can see those qualities there for Justice Thomas. This is giving him his, obviously, his exceptional skills as a legal person. But we can see here how it's influenced the wife. Now, in a little bit extra here, the 7th house often refers to the spouse. So here we've got connotations of the wife again. Saturn is in the sign of Cancer, which is not an easy sign for Saturn to be in, because what it does is it makes one hold on to the past too much. One can be, obviously, it's in a Parivartana swap, but it can, which means that Saturn is acting as if it's in his own sign. So he's probably not too vulnerable to this, but there will be an element what it can show in regards the 7th house. Here we are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here, the 7th house, the spouse, anyone that's not us. So this can talk about the wife again. So Saturn is here, which is government, rules and regulation. Pluto is what? Intrigues. But guess what? When Saturn is in the sign of Cancer, the person can really struggle to let go of emotions. They can get obsessed and fixated about wounds of the past or things not being right, this injustice, that injustice, and they hold on and they hold on. Pluto is here as well, and it's in a very tight conjunction. This Pluto is at 20 degrees 11 minutes of sidereal Cancer, and Saturn is at 26 degrees 21 minutes. So again, they're very close, 5-6 degrees apart. So again, if we look at this from the perspective of the spouse, it means there's elements to her where she doesn't want to let go, but there's these intrigues, obsession with power, the machinations of what? Government. Saturn is government, Pluto is power, machinations. On top of this, it's in the nakshatra, which is called Aslesha. And I've mentioned this before. Do you remember I was talking about a certain Putinshka's chart? Yeah. Because what's interesting is that with Putin, Duck Larange, and Xi Jinping, they've all got their a planet in Aslesha. Yeah. Here in Justin Thomas's chart, it's Saturn and it's Pluto. So that energy is there again. Duck Larange has, so it's almost like the wife too also has this affinity there. But this could also be something that he's quietly facilitated on his side. Because look, it's impossible. If you're married to someone and you're under the same roof, you can't be like, oh, I didn't know what they were doing. I didn't know that they were planning some massive insurrection, Come on, it beggars belief. But again, for entertainment purposes only. So there's that. Also as well, there are more indications here. If we look at the 8th house, now we know the 8th house is what? Sex, death, and rock and roll. And here in Justice Thomas's chart, we've got Mars, planet Mars. Mars is what? Passion, desire, energy, bombast. Yeah, when Mars is in the sign of Leo, it becomes very powerful. He starts to act like the general, because Leo is the sign of what? The sun, the king. So here, Mars feels very empowered, very powerful. It really can improve the logic and all of that kind of stuff, the leadership qualities, but also as well, here, Mars in the 8th house can also show quite a bit of a ruthless streak as well, because this is the 8th house. And Leo, of course, is also about power, but it's in the nakshatra called Purva Falguni, and the Purva Falguni is the section of Leo that's very creative, but it has a lot to do with the pleasure principle, relaxation. But the shadow of it can be excess, even a little, even hedonistic, or even a little bit of debauchery, even, believe it or not. I mean, I don't want to say, too much, but this is the 8th house that we're talking about. The 8th house is all about what? Intrigues. Let's just read it off. Sex, death, and rock and roll. It deals with transformation, traumas, will, surrender, life insurance, psychology, addictions, metaphysics, disgrace. Yeah, 8th house also deals with disgrace, inheritance, bankruptcy, taxes, corruption. It deals with magnetism and charisma, burning karma. It deals even with murder, alchemy. It deals with scandals, conspiracy theories, life force, astrologies, money from others, and espionage. It's a lot going on, isn't it? So this is a very powerful Mars here. Power is sort of like hidden, yeah? But it also shows as well insights and intuition and stuff like that. But it also shows a deep interest in the machinations of things, especially in regards to leadership, because Leo is all about leadership. So there's those things there. If we look here too, he has got Neptune in the 9th house. What's the 9th house? The 9th house deals with the law, leadership, spirituality, and stuff like that. When Neptune is in the sign of Virgo, that can actually have a lot to do with pharmaceuticals as well. It deals with, big pharma. It deals with, Neptune can deal with alcohol and drugs of all kinds, but particularly when it's in the sign of Virgo, it deals with pharmaceuticals. And this is quite interesting because Neptune is also in the sign of in Virgo in the USA Constitution chart, but in the 10th house. So that's very interesting as well. So there's that here, and it's in the nakshatra Hasta, which means hands, but the shadow of Hasta can mean manipulation. So here there is a vulnerability where there could be manipulation in regards to politics. Yeah, in regards to politics. Because it's the 9th house. Higher learning, gurus and teachers, beliefs and politics, publishing and travels, the law and lawmakers. Yeah, law and lawmakers, religion, fanaticism, spirituality, innate inspirations, education, languages, travel, and the father. So he's got Neptune there in Hasta. So we can see these shadow manipulations. He's I don't know if he's publicly denied these things. Everyone's saying he should recuse himself, but we can see here there's the shadow of Neptune is illusions, delusions, mist, fog, scandals, not telling the truth, doing things on the down low, so, in secrecy, and then maybe it comes out later, or maybe it never comes out. In this case, of course, it's coming out. But isn't that interesting that he should have Neptune there in that house in regards to the law? So we certainly can't take what Clarence Thomas says at face value. Certainly not, because he could be saying one thing and meaning another. And also as well, what's interesting here, if we see too, because of this nodal return, he's got Ketu in the 10th house. Now, Ketu in the 10th house can be a little bit tricky because it can show an unconventional career. But here we see Chiron is here, which is what? The wounded healer. So it can mean Ketu is like a little vortex. It's like when you flush the loo. It's like that. Chiron is what? The wounded healer. It's in the 10th house. So this can show potential wounds can come from the career. Now, it's not always bad necessarily having Chiron in the 10th house, because it can mean one can go into a healing career where one heals others. It's the fact that Ketu is here as well, and it's being activated because, of course, the nodes have been going backwards. So this nodal axis in his chart is now active, which means that this Chiron will also be triggered as well. He's also in the Mahadasha sequence of Mercury Ketu. So Mercury, which sits here in his 6th house, which deals with what? Health and healing, overcoming obstacles, battles and stuff like that. His 6th house is active because Mercury sits there, and it is also the ruler of the 6th house in the 6th, but Mercury also rules the 9th, which is dealing what? With the law. Health and law are issues right now. Yeah, health and law. People are what? Investigating things into his background because of his wife, yeah, which is also Venus in the 6th house as well. So the 6th is in the 6th. So the Lord of the 6th is in the 6th house, and the Lord of the 9th is in the 6th house, bringing that together. He's also in that Mahadasha sequence of Mercury, activating all of that, but he's also in Mercury Ketu, which means Ketu is driving the Mahadasha car, and Ketu is with Chiron, the wounded healer, and the nodes have returned to themselves. So we can see, you know, this Justice is in a bit of a pickle here. In a bit of a pickle. He's in danger of, yeah, someone pressing the flush button. So we'll have to see how that progresses. He's also as well got his Jupiter here in Scorpio. And as we know, Scorpio deals with intrigues and all of those things. It does make Jupiter quite strong, but it is retrograde. So again, there's more karma on that. Maybe being what? More subterranean when it comes to scorpionic issues, especially in regard to the law and lawmakers and stuff like that. So, I hope you guys found that interesting. Just if we look here in his D9, his second ascendant here, he's actually a Capricorn again, but he's got Venus in the 1st house. Yeah, Venus in the 1st house with Pluto. Venus is what? The wife. Pluto is what? Power and control. So we can see here, especially as he's gone into the 2nd half of his life, the wife has got a lot to do with power and control in regards to their marriage and their relationship, and has a huge influence over him, literally over his body and how he goes about things. And if we look here as well, he's also got 2 planets here, and the Sun, the new kingdom, which is here, look, in Sagittarius, which deals with the law. There it is with Mercury in the 12th house. And the 12th house is what? A clandestine and hidden house. It also deals with travel and stuff like that, spirituality, but it is a hidden house. So I find that interesting that you should have that in Sagittarius, which deals with the law and lawmakers, but it's clandestine, it's hidden. This is a man that likes his privacy, doesn't want to necessarily share what's going on in his life, even though he is in public office. But there we can see in the 2nd half of his life chart the influence of his wife in particular, and her power moves have influenced a lot of his decision making. So yes, he should recuse himself. That should have happened, you know, like yesterday. We will see what happens. But as these aspects progress, as this nodal return intensifies and gets stronger on that date that I gave you guys, which was, pardon me, when I go back to the transits, just to see what I said, yeah, on the 29th of September 2022 at 23:54 UK time, that thing becomes exact. So, you know, give it a few days, you know, either side, but he's going to have to make some kind of decision. These are the notes of the moon, which are fate and destiny. Oh, and I forgot, I don't want this to be too long, but yeah, God, what am I at? 52 minutes now. I may as well carry on, mightn't I? Let's just pull a few cards for Justice Thomas and see let's have a chop. Let's have a chop. There we are, using my black and white cards. Let's have a chop for Justice Thomas. Justice Thomas. And I'm going to pull 3 cards for him. Let's actually just pull the camera down a little bit here so you can see. Let's pull 3 cards. 3 cards. All right. Let's put that here so you can see what's going on for Justice Thomas. Let's see what's going on. What kind of doodahs is happening for him? You know what? Maybe I will put this video out, but I'm going to put it to my members first. Bless them. Look at this. How is that so interesting that I've got a reversal there in this deck? So first of all here, what do we have? We have got 3 of Pentacles, which deals with what? Collusion, yeah? Let me just move the camera up a little bit here. So this is what collaboration with others, etc. and stuff like that. But it can deal with what? Dark money, especially when it comes to the next card here, which is the 10 of Pentacles. So this is the 3 of Pentacles, and here is the 10 of Pentacles, which deals with what? Family money, legacies, but also deals with big money as well, big groups and organizations of all kinds. You can see there's so many different generations of family on this same one here. So this is this. So if we look at this, collaboration with big groups. Ooh, wonder what that could mean. Collaboration with big groups and organizations. And the outcome card, look, 3 of Cups. This is normally like a party card, etc. This is the opposite. But again, it's a gathering. Yeah, it's a parties, but this is when the party has gone sour. This is when you don't want to be in the party anymore. And there's some, you know, the host has opened up the windows and everyone's like, it's time to go. Oh, what's that on the base? Oh, look what's on the base. The Fool. Yeah. So someone, certain Thomas has been a bit foolish in terms of who's he's associated with. Oh, look at that. We've got the Wheel of Fortune as well. So he's going into a point of fate and destiny, quite literally, with the nodes of moon that are going to have quite an impact on his life. We'll have to see exactly how that plans out. But weren't those cards interesting, particularly in regards to what we're talking about with the astrology? And I hope you guys have enjoyed that. And also as well, I should say, if you'd like to have a consultation with me as well, at some point I am taking bookings from the middle of May, because, you know, I'm going on some adventures and stuff like that. So I think it's from like the 17th of May. But my schedule becomes available again. Lots of interesting stuff, content and stuff coming up, because I'm going to be traveling around. I hope you guys found that interesting. I certainly did. With what came out. Again, for entertainment purposes only. This is going to go to the members first. And of course, if you want to join and get exclusive content and videos, of course, then just click on my profile wherever you see it in YouTube. And then next to the membership tab, you will see the join button. And don't forget to like and subscribe and share. And you guys have been saying, give me wonderful feedback, saying you love these kind of more one-on-one videos. So I'm going to try and do a bit more. Got some random logo there. I got this t-shirt from a conference I did once upon a time. I can't even remember what the words mean, but anyway, so I look forward to doing the next one. I hope you found that interesting, and you will see me on the next video. Thanks so much everyone for all the support. I'm going to put this up to the members, and you know, I might release this at some point to the public. So I hope you enjoyed that. Very interesting, wasn't it? All right, see you soon, folks. Bye.